About what's new and awesome in 3D printing for gamers. I'm one of your hosts, Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Param, and I'm joined by
Kristen Soward's also known as Seventh Mastery.
Oh, Kristen, we've got some very big and very bad news to chat about today.
Oh, yeah.
And just to get this out there so people know going into the episode what we're going to talk about in just a little bit, which is the rumored OGL changes, and more specifically, how that will be affecting our hobby. And because it does have some effects. And if you are publishing a kick or any miniature Patreons right now, you need to be paying attention to what we're about to say.
Yeah,
Because I think we're probably the only ones reporting on this from the lens of 3D print creators right now. Because if you're giving any sort of 5e stats along with your stuff, you need to be paying a big attention. But before we delve into the doom and gloom, we'll want to build up some positivity first. So there's actually some good news to chat about before we dig into the OGL stuff. So have some patience. We just don't want to start the whole podcast off with, well, this is an apocalyptic level scenario. Let's get into the details and where to dig your bunker.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about some cool news. New printers. New printers are always fun to chat about, especially a new printer that I will never be able to afford.
No, nor will I.
Never be able to afford the rack full of them they show in the preview videos for these, which is the brand new Form Labs Form Auto.
For the tidy little price of $3,399.
This thing is nuts. So it is one of their Form Labs 3D printers. So these are enthusiast to professional grade printer. And this printer itself is very much professional grade. This is designed towards print farms and manufacturers. If you happen to be a company that is putting out a new Wards game here soon, this is the kind of printer you want to print your models, because it is a resin printer that not only prints them, but then takes them off the build plate into a collection basket that is designed to go into a matching wash and cure machine, and then puts the plate back on and then moves down to print the next step, so that you go to sleep, because it only takes 4 or 5 hours to print a plate full of models for your brand new Not Warma Hordes game.
Warma Hordes, love it.
And you come back and it's used up all the resin. By the way, this does have an external resin reservoir to keep this baby topped up all night long. Like you hook it up to a cardboard box filled. It's like boxed wine, but it's the forbidden milkshake instead.
Yikes. Alex says it's only 11 Horus Heresy box sets.
Oh, okay. It's only 11 Horus Heresies. And so basically you don't have to monitor this printer. It just prints all day, dumps the tray, prints more, dumps the tray, keeps refilling itself. And then every so often you go grab the basket filled with your models and then dump it in the wash and cure machine, and then come back and print some more. So this is obviously designed for production level facilities when you are really needing a whole heck of a lot of whatever it is you're printing.
I'm still worried about the drop. I don't know. I know it doesn't look like it's that much, but if I had little squirrely bits, I would worry. But maybe it would just be fine. I guess I don't know what the little thing at the bottom is there. Maybe it already has a little cushion in it.
I mean, I don't know what it's got in there to do this, but it's really cool how it works, because this arm reaches out and grabs the part, and its build plate is a flex tray. So it just flexes the flex tray a few times until the parts fall off, and then it puts it back onto the printer. And then just, drops that into the little box, and you're good to go. And it just keeps printing and printing and printing forever and ever and ever. And they show in the promotional video with this like a rack full of like 12 of these things. It's like,
right? Can you get the rack?
That's more than my house in printers.
Right? Dusky the Dino Puncher says, "Why it gotta look like a sewing machine?"
I don't know. This is craziness.
But look,
then you just drops the parts in there, and then you take this, take the little basket it drops it into, and then that goes into your wash and cure machine to get them. So it's like full, like everything we were talking about in last episode of like, we'd be really great if this exists. Well, it does exist if you've got tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah. So yeah, if you wanted to just like print forever, the same thing over and over and over again. Actually, it's not the same thing over and over again. They actually have this hooked up to a piece of software that lets you, that basically gives you a giant Outlook kind of schedule for
Oh,
like
so you can like,
you line up the prints. Like you're going to print this first,
so you
this.
could build out your entire box for fulfillment and have it drop it all in one tub.
Yeah.
See, that's pretty slick for a small game publisher. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. And honestly, with this thing, you could probably print an entire Horus Heresy every night.
There you go. Imagine if you had 12 of them.
Then you print enough Horus Heresies to pay for itself.
Right. How big is the actual build volume? Dusky asks.
This looks like it has a Mars 3 level build volume. So this is not like a Saturn level printer.
So it's auto Cadillac style luxury, but it's not producing a bunch per print job.
Right. No. This thing's big pitch is that you don't need to sit there and change the print bed every time yourself. This is kind of like why I want like the CR30 printer, like the belt printer for filament, so that I can just print and print and print forever. And because with the CR30, at least I'd have enough of an ability to manually print out stuff that I would manage to get the printable game table printed.
Printable game table. This thing looks a lot.
Something else that caught my attention that I thought was newsworthy is Stage Top, which is a Kickstarter running right now, which is, hey, you know all those really cool game tables that you can see at all the game shows, or if you're watching like, you know, the Wormwood channels, or maybe you remember Geek Chic before they ripped everybody off and went out of business.
I remember that, Gen Con.
Why can't you just 3D print the whole table? And so that's their pitch. They've got files and stuff to you pledge in, and you can 3D give you all the files to 3D print a game table, which is, it looks really cool on their screen and video. And it's a fun concept of an idea. You can print it to any size you want because it's very modular. And by very modular, all the parts can be printed on an Ender 3, which is like 210 square build plate volume. Which is just over 10 inches, which is not enough. Like, no, it's just under 10 inches. It's like 8 point some inches. You need 250 to get to 10.
Gotcha.
Not enough. Really, it's tiny little square. Tiny, like if you tried to make an entire table by slapping down 8-inch squares on it, that's what you're going to have to do for this table. And you know, you absolutely can do it. It looks great. And
the support structure looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, so it's like the body, basically you're framing and all the little things that locks that together, and then you print the little legs, and the legs hold the table up. This is, they kind of pitching it as you print this and it's a table topper, which is a fun idea. I love table toppers. I'll be talking about those in a second because I built one actually years ago, but I'm using it again. And then you're able to like have this really cool game table for game night, and by it being modular, you can also then break it down and store it into a very compact, very tiny box.
I like how sleek that looks, how it all goes away, but it feels like a lot to do every game night. Like that's a lot. I would probably leave that thing built.
Tempted to just, you know, super glue the whole thing together forever instead of having all those little locks and stuff. You get some two-part epoxy and that thing's never coming apart.
But how long does it take to make it?
I'm glad you asked. It actually comes in a few different variants, and they actually have some tips, like, you know, print the railing and TPU as well as the feet so that it won't scratch your table, like a comfortable armrest to lean up against, which is a neat idea. You know, hey, custom materials, etc. And it comes in a light and third and elite versions, which take various amounts of filament and time to print. And so at the bottom, they actually have a estimates of what this will take. If you wanted to print the light version, it is for a 24 by 32 inch game table, which is a fun table topper. That is a good enough size to put your standard D&D flip mat out onto and play a good game there. It would handle most small to medium board games. Not You're not going to play Arkham Horror on this thing at that size.
Right.
So it's 2 foot by 3 foot basically, which is not big enough for my interests. For sure, you could play skirmishes game that's enough to play Kill Team on,
Sure.
or Warpath,
Warcry.
or Warcry.
Yeah.
And for that, it takes 230 total print hours at standard default print speeds on an Ender 3.
No fails.
And 4.4 kilograms of filament. So 5 rolls.
5.5 rolls, yeah.
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 And Alex Chavler, you need to print 4 of these for 40K. It wouldn't be quite 4 times as many because you don't have to, just because of the way the math works, but it'd be just under. And then if you wanted to go to the standard quality, they don't list the elite. That's going to take even longer. The stage top standard for the same size is 459 hours and 5.5 kilograms of filament. The cost of the filament is like $100 to print this thing, which is, for the size of it, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. But just the amount of hours that it takes, you would really want to, if you wanted to take on this project, you wouldn't want to try to do it on a single Neptune or a single Ender. You would really want 2, 3, 4 of these things going at it hardcore, or else like you're gonna start it when the Kickstarter's over and have your table in June.
Right. Like looking at the modularity is nice and all, but like I don't think this is all that impressive. Like I remember when the IKEA hacks were going around, and we did one of those for much less money.
Yeah, I mean, for my, what are they asking for it? The stage top for personal use is $48 and $100 to get a commercial license for it. I don't know, how much you would have to sell the commercial ones for, given the amount of time and money.
Right,
you could almost afford a Wormwood probably by what that would be worth. But I mean, this is a cool project if you want to go for it. It definitely seems extra.
Well, and I think if you have
a bunch of printers, this would be
that
awesome.
maker enthusiast, I could see it.
I mean, there are people that took some of those Loot Studio miniatures and printed them life size for Halloween.
I know.
If you've got that kind of energy, this is the go.
RN Studio did a Dark Elf Assassin, and someone scaled it up to 6 feet, and she looks really cool. But I'm just like, wow, that was a lot.
I do like this that they have different borders. Like this border looks like a castle. I wouldn't want to lean my arms against the parapets on that one.
The crenellations, although technically with the support feet, it would still be above that. So you'd probably be putting your hands on the table below it, I imagine.
And then they've got a little player tile that is a graveyard for your discard section. And this little hole is what they have dice towers that sit below it. So it's like a hole in the table that you drop dice down, and then below the table,
there's a dice tower
where you catch it.
Interesting. The supports and everything is the difference between the standard and the elite and everything just the sturdiness of the design, or
it's sort of just the simplicity versus the decorativeness of the design.
Okay. So whether or not it has all the extra attachments, I guess it looks like there's maybe a drink holder. And
so the light, it's just thin edges and big blocky squares that don't have any built-in texture to them, which if you're just going to throw a neoprene mat across this thing is fine.
Right.
And then you have the elite, which has the cool looking molded edged crenellations and stuff. This is kind of honestly for me, if I wasn't going elite, I wouldn't want to 3D print it. I mean, I would want to go with more traditional crafting.
Right.
For sure.
Well, and without the customizations that looks like the elite has, I don't know that I'd be interested in it either. Although I am curious because it looks like the base support squares are the same.
Yes. It's just the topper tiles and the edges that differentiate the tables. Which does mean that you can print different, you could just print one table and then have all sorts of different edges and then to swap those out and like, hey, we're going to be playing, we're going to be playing Castles and Crusades this week, so I'm going to put the crenellations on it and like,
Sure.
oh, we're going to be playing Clue, so we're going to go with the Victorian we're going to go with the Victorian molding section instead. And
Yeah, and I imagine too, like if you're a maker who's into FDM, you probably could even start modding your own pieces for those.
and
doing
if you and also like I'm mainly laughing at the time it takes to print something like this because it like took me like 60 hours to print that big friggin' Wizard's Manor, which I love to pieces. And I'm already craving multiple printers, but like the second you do have 2 or 3 printers, this suddenly becomes within the realm of a week's worth of project instead of a month's worth of project.
Right.
Yeah.
Alex called you out on getting him into OPR because of those Battle Sisters, and I have to say, though I have done work for OPR in the past, I'm not currently working for them, and I will still say those are beautiful Battle Sister models.
I really like. It's been so fun seeing like the early sketches of those when the gang was coming up with them, and they've been like, oh, I love these things. Yeah. So disclosure, I work for OPR in their marketing department as their community manager, and I have also been drooling over those Battle Sisters, which is why my hobby time this week was making the promotional video for the Battle Sisters.
I don't even do Grimdark right now, and those bikes are freaking amazing. Like, holy cow!
Yeah, my local crew. We're going to do some firefight play, so like not full scale armies for the sci-fi because like we're doing that for the fantasy side of things. Like the full like 100 unit armies and stuff,
right?
But so for the sci-fi, we're sticking to Grimdark Firefight, which is like I put together a custodian team, and it's literally 3 models. It's just like 3 custodian brothers, and that's it. That's my points. All of them spent.
Nice. Yeah, there's also an amazing epic lust demon avatar thing.
Oh yes,
incredible.
Yes. It is nuts huge too. I really want to print that one because it's just massive and it's got this like pure Lilith energy going on.
Yeah, she went from like just a snaky whatever to like Ursula times snaky, really cool. And you also got one from Heroes Infinite if you were involved with them this month, so like you got options for your big demon lord badass general babes.
It is a great time to be a fan of demons.
Sure. And then like all the Nurgle everywhere. There's Nurgle everywhere. Arc Villain, Battle Yak, Crippled God just did some. They're everywhere.
Everybody loves Nurgle. I've seen a lot of Beasts of Nurgle showing up specifically, and I have to imagine it's because Darktide and Total War 3 both launched those very recently to get the Beast of Nurgle out there, and everybody kind of loves it because the Beast of Nurgle isn't mean, isn't even evil. It is a giant puppy that wants to play, but unfortunately, that means it squishes you.
Nice.
And when you play with it in dark, when it shows up in Darktide, it's the same. It's just like this big happy demon puppy, and just like running through the hallways, and you're having to shoot it, and it's just like, what in the roll and play, and you just die because it's big, and it also, if you live, congratulations, you have every disease now.
Yeah, that was the thing I was worried about. Is when dirty puppy licks you.
No, it's like, oh, it loves me so much, and now. I have degenerative bone disorder.
But if you survive, you get to become one of the blessed children of Nurgle.
Oh, lovely. Oh, but speaking of something that we survive and become the blessed children, we got one more cool printer to chat about before we get into that, actually.
Okay.
All right. So the Neptune Max and the Neptune. They've got all 3 of them. The Plus and Max are now available if you want. Oh, never mind. They're sold out. But they'll come back in stock soon where you can actually order the Neptune 3 Max. They're launched. People are getting them. The Max itself is the one I'd be interested in because it's a big printer. It has a bed size 4 times the size of the Neptune 3, which is at 420 by 420 by 500 millimeters square. You could print like helmets and breastplates and big old castles on this thing. The Nurgle puppy you could print on this thing would be like massive, absolutely massive, like 3 feet tall of Nurgle puppy.
You were saying it was about 4 normal size build plates in volume, right?
Yeah.
So my curiosity is because I have a Mega X Anycubic, and it can cool on the exterior edges and cause lifting and cause failures. And I'm curious if they've maybe dialed that in or not. It'd be fascinating to see some videos.
I don't know. We'll have to see some review videos because it's sold out and they didn't send me one of these. So I haven't got to play with it. And also I haven't seen even like Uncle Jesse. He has reviewed the Plus, the one that is halfway between the two, and loves it. And it works great. But I haven't actually seen the Max reviewed yet. I would hope, because the Plus and the Neptune 3 and Neptune 3, the new one, the whichever one. I think it was also called the Plus.
There's a Pro.
A Pro.
There's a Pro.
Neptune 3 Pro.
Yeah.
Is very good. So I would hope that the Max is also very good. But, you know, you never know. Maybe you just need to get more hairspray. The hairspray trick is like worked amazing. It's like freaking magic. I don't even need to put brims on things anymore.
That's wild. I don't know. Like if I don't have a brim, I can get away with like support lists if they're really good support lists, but I have to have a brim with the X because it's the cooling problem. So it's got to be adhered, and when it starts to cool, because
have you tried the hairspray trick?
I think I did once. I think mother-in-law was here and maybe left some Aquanet, or somebody did. I don't know. A mysterious can of Aquanet showed up, and I did try it once, I think. But I also had a brim on it, so I don't know.
Oh, well.
Hard to say.
Oh, yeah. But speaking of the back to the game table and building it yourself, I kind of did exactly that recently. And like got this nice little folding, riser table that looks all really nice and awesome. And it's 4 foot by 4 foot. Like my preferred size to play just about any war game on is that instead of the full 6x4. Like, yeah, you can't really do like huge point totals, but like, usually we're playing 1,500, but 2,000 points is still playable on a 4x4.
And how did you build it?
So I built it with like a plywood base,
Okay.
2 4x2 plywood panels that then got framed with some decorative molding around it, handle in the middle so that you can haul the thing pretty easily, and then some hinges and some support brackets that were 1x3s.
So is the kind that like when they fold down on the hinge that the handle comes up from the middle, like, or how did you?
So the handles are on the edge. The play surface gets sandwiched. It folds up, and this play surface.
Oh,
gets
and then you
sandwiched
just grab
between,
the top on the edge.
and the top has 2 handles and like little latches to latch it closed.
Did you do cloth handles, or is it?
They're rope handles.
Rope handles. Okay.
Rope handles.
Cool.
And a little support brace at the bottom to make sure that it opens up flat every time with no warping, and that is also wonderful. So it's a perfectly flat 4x4 play surface every time. Wood sanded and wood stained and sanded again, and all that.
Did you use a schematic offline anywhere, or did you?
No.
Make it up
I just sketched it out myself, and get the power tools out and built the table.
Can listeners get your schematic anywhere?
It's literally scrawled in a notebook. It's not a real schematic.
Well, my Dungeon 23 is scrawled in several places and on a dry erase board and in 3 different areas. And eventually, I hope to show it to somebody outside of TikTok.
I mean, like, maybe I can do something like that. Like, there's not much here. It's just nice framed table. It looks nice. It
does look nice. I've seen pictures of it closer up than that.
Yeah, and that cost me like $70 total in material to build it, and we got it done in one evening. Me and my pops helped me out just so I'd have a second pair of hands to hold the wood while it was being cut.
Nice.
And just one evening to build the table, and then put the first coat of varnish on, and then another coat the next day just for finishing it. Which, just dry time was required there. It's not that it took more than 10 minutes to put it on there. And then it's done. It's been a wonderful little table. Oh, it's also got on the bottom. It has those little screw mounts,
Uh-huh.
so that you can screw legs into it. So it takes 6 legs total. So 2 in the middle and then 1 in each corner
Gotcha.
to put the table down. And because they're screw-in legs, right now I have 3.5-inch legs on it, which is just high enough off the tables to slide your books and character sheets in, but still be really comfortable to sit at and reach across. It's like it doesn't like some of these toppers raise it up so high that you can't really.
I think we did 6 eventually because we were just using the different types of IKEA legs, same sort of thing. You could screw them on and screw them off, whatever. But I think the ones when it got higher than that did get kind of like people were like,
Yeah.
lifted up like a dog looking for scraps on the edge of the table.
6 is like way too much for me because like this is almost imperceptible that the table's there when you're.
Yeah, we
sitting. It's
originally
nice
were
and
looking at, I
comfy.
think, on like a foot or something. They were way up, but
Yeah, that's not. I mean, for some people that's great, especially if you're going to stand and play. Like if I was like just playing war games on it, that wouldn't be too bad because I stand to play my war games and don't sit to play them.
when we did the height like that, we did do some multidimensional maps on it though. That was kind of fun where you could like go up and down and like be in different parts of the, battlefields.
But here's the fun part. Because I've got the screw-in brackets, I also have several other sets of legs for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got an 8-inch set for when I do want it to be nice and tall. And I
Mm-hmm.
have a full set of, I think, 36-inch legs.
Oh, so you just make it the
so
table
it can be a
itself.
standalone table
Nice.
to travel. It's a nice little travel table that can that is a 4x4 game table that folds up and easily chucks in the back of my Kia.
Cute. I like it.
Yeah, it is one of my favorite toys that I've built. And it facilitates nice. We played Rangers of Shadow Deep on it, and it
Mm-hmm.
was fun and nice. I have to order a new mat for it, a new FLG mat for it because the one I have is just one of these vinyl mats, and I do not like the vinyl mats. They too shiny, they too flimsy. I had to iron it because it was in storage and got wrinkly, so I literally had to break out the iron and like blah.
Yeah.
Oh dear. All right, so we've put it off as long as we can put it off, gang.
Oh, do we have to?
We have to. We have to talk about this because I don't like the dramas. I actually dislike when we have to talk about the dramas.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, for those of you who do not know what the OGL is, the OGL is the Open Gaming License. And for the past 20 plus years, it has been this rock solid foundation that most of the RPG has hitched its wagon to.
Yeah, my company's been using it for over 10 years.
It is this open license that was made for the 3rd edition of Dungeons and Dragons intentionally because if you listen to some of the early interviews, when WotC found out how close D&D came to not existing anymore, they wanted to make sure that nobody, not even themselves, could screw it up, and so that some version of D&D could exist forever, even if the crazy people took over WotC and decided to shut everything down again. So it was this open license that was meant to last forever, that said, hey, here's the core rules to the new D20 system that outline the basics of D&D. We published this SRD document, and as long as you follow by these really permissive rules, then you can publish and make content using this core baseline and share, and then people can use your work and share, and this nice giant sharing community. And it's the reason that we have like like Cthulhu mythos is available to play in your games, and like while there's a D20 version of Lord of the Rings and a D20 version of just about anything you've ever thought of.
Yeah,
and like
Mutants
all these
Masterminds,
publishers,
right? Came from there too.
It's the reason that you're able to go to your Patreon right now for Arc Villain Games and download an adventure that uses all their minis, that has all their stats in it. And like a lot of Patreons are releasing 5e stats for all their monsters so that you can just download the cool Dragon Trappers Lodge Goose Dragon that's in their month set this time. And you have the stats for what a goose dragon is.
Yeah, the Pharmomancer stats and having an OPR army list. I was surprised that was gonna be one, but the Displacer Velociraptor things are pretty neat though.
I like the Dairy Minotaurs.
I might have block that out. Anyway, yeah. So companies like mine could use this to make their own riffs on things and, interact. You could also partner with other companies and use some of their stuff and build on it, which is kind of how I built my whole brand.
Right. Like during the height of this in the 2000s, 97% of the entire role-playing game market was publishing under this license.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's getting very close to there again with the success of 5th edition. And so many people, like you've got Critical Role and all these gigantic entities making D&D popular again. And the fact that 5th edition is a dang good system. It's a very good version of D&D. A lot of people like it.
Mm-hmm. It's just crunchy enough and just soft enough to kind of be in that middle ground. I don't think everybody's thrilled by it, but it's good enough for a lot of people.
Right. It's like, it's the cool runnings of role-playing games.
The Goldilocks porridge of D&D.
And so Wizards of the Coast, there's been a leak of a document. Now, keep in mind, it's a leak. They've not officially acknowledged it, but multiple sources that have journalistic integrity enough that I trust them implicitly have all verified it, like separate sources. Kickstarter has verified clauses that are in it as clauses they did indeed agree to that had not been discovered until the leak of this document. There is almost zero chance that this is not what it says it is. This is at least some official draft of a new version of the OGL, which, oh my gosh, is it a terrible version? Like, calling it the open gaming license is a farce.
Yep. And it doesn't just go one way bad. It goes all sorts of directions bad.
Yeah, like it is literally 10 times the length of the original OGL. And so some of the major changes in it are, you have to register it. Now, if you want to see some more of it, Stephen Glicker over on Roll for Combat has been covering this a lot. They've had lawyers on to chat about it. The entire document is also available on their website now, so you can go look at this thing yourself. They've chatted with like major people, and they've got an upcoming interview with Ryan Scott Dancy, who is the person that was in charge with the creation of the original open gaming license. So they have been doing a massive amount of coverage on this. I definitely recommend you go check out their content if you're wanting to dig into this. But the major changes are, first, that you have to register. It's not open. If you make above like $750,000, you've got to pay 25% of your gross to them. And
you can knock that down to 20 by using Kickstarter.
Now, while you might think, hey, 25% doesn't sound like a lot. The App Store takes 3. No. You don't understand. That's not how this works. It's the gross of the total, which means that once Kickstarter takes their cut, you've paid your artist, you've paid all of the expenses of running the business. WotC made more money on that product than you did, and if you are over a certain amount, you are in the hole. You made no money.
And that frequently happens to Kickstarters anyway. Yeah. People get nailed by shipping costs or unseen, print run problems. You never know.
And
have that coming out of your gross.
If it was just a money problem, this would be a nightmare scenario. The document says that they have free and open sub-licensable, which means that they can then sell this right to other companies to everything in your product.
Yeah, as long as it is, quote, sufficiently similar, which means what? It could, it's D&D or it's fantasy RPG. That might be sufficiently similar. So all your IP, everything can be accessed. Yeah.
You will never again see a cool licensed D20 book. Like Firefly D20 would never happen under this.
No.
We would never have gotten the cool DC role-playing game that was published under the OGL, because ain't no way on earth Warner Brothers is letting WotC get free reign of Superman.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there is the worst part of this document that is like, because all this sounds bad. You might be like, well, maybe I ain't publishing for 6th edition. Maybe I'm out, because that happened with the GSL, the 4th edition. It wasn't this bad, but it was like, nobody wanted to agree to the GSL terms either, and they were out. They were like, hey, we're just going to keep publishing 3rd edition, and then, hey, Pathfinder exists.
Yep.
It was a good time, ironically, which is probably why they're doing it this way. They got a clause in this that says that the original OGL is no longer authorized. Which you might be like, hey, I thought the OGL was meant to last forever. It was supposed to last forever. They have official like words on their FAQ for the document that says that they're not allowed to do this. But
Though they did try to get rid of that, but the Internet Archive has plenty of proof of it.
Oh yeah. Alex Schifler saying Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic was an OGL product. Oh, Disney's sure gonna love to let them use Star Wars.
Yeah, well, there also was the D20 version of Star Wars as well.
Yeah,
I mean, I know a lot of people have been saying the Old Republic might be in question, but
that wasn't an OGL document.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that was a special license because like Wizards only didn't actually put all that much out into the OGL after they published the SRD. Whereas Paizo is the exact opposite. They put everything out that they publish into the OGL, which is great. They're good on Paizo for how they handle their open licensing. But they're saying the first version of the OGL won't exist no more.
Right.
And you're not allowed to use it no more. And that would shut down almost everybody.
Put me out of business.
Like a massive amount of the role-playing industry goes away overnight should that come into effect. Yes, it's going to be decided in court if they go for this because Paizo is not going to want to do that. Of course, this is all hyperbole in my opinion. Also, I am not a lawyer. We need to get that out there.
Definitely not lawyers.
I mean, what I am is somebody who's been covering the OGL rights and documents of this stuff for going on 15 years, but I'm not a lawyer.
Scott's here.
Actual lawyers are available to talk about this on Roll for Combat, so go listen to that.
Absolutely.
And so like Pathfinder is like would basically effectively go away with this document. The entire role-playing game industry shrinks in humongous ways. Tons of products and tons of companies are going to go out of business if document is allowed to go out as it was leaked. And oh my gosh, is that bad? But what does this mean for 3D printing? We're a 3D printing show. Yeah. Well, most of these people that are a lot of these people that are releasing those cool models in the Patreons, they're releasing stats for their models. That means that the idea for that creature, suddenly WotC can own it. Also, WotC can then cancel the license and not let you use the own thing you made.
Mm-hmm. But looking right here in our chat, Scott from Comet Lord Miniatures is here and saying probably not going to happen now. And so we already see, a lot of creators, I'm in the same boat, that new 5e supplements just don't want to even try. Alex, no, it has not been officially released. But
No. This is a leaked document, but the authenticity of the document has been verified several different ways. Not by WotC themselves, but by people that have been that are mentioned in the document. Kickstarter themselves has confirmed some parts of the document are indeed true, and multiple sources have vetted the document as being a legitimate document. So, alleged document, leaked document. You'll have to. I'm sure that we're still waiting for WotC to have some output. So far, the only thing they've put out is on the D&D Beyond account, saying that they will have some answers soon. That's it.
Yeah.
Of course, if something has happened during the recording of this podcast, we don't know, or between the recording of this podcast and when it gets released,
and when you hear it. Yeah, James mentions blames Hasbro and their unfettered greed, showing up how they're doing MTG. Like if you're not familiar with MTG, it used to be we'd get 4 sets a year in that game.
Right.
I can't even tell you how many sets we get. Literally now, it's like there's remix sets, there's commander only sets, there's eternal format sets, and yeah, it's creating an unstable and untenable environment. People can't keep up unless you're a speculator.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. But you're a 3D creator. What's this mean for you? Well, first, if you're putting 5e stats out for your Patreon, you probably should stop. Like just right now, immediately, you should probably stop until we know more at the very least. Because those documents might be, you might not be able to, and especially if you've got it as part of your Patreon pledges, then you need to stop. Because if they're able to do you want to pay WotC 25% of your pledges before, not profit, just gross, right off the top? If I'm giving you $10 a month, you got to give $250 to WotC.
Right. So even would you think even with a Patreon where they're quote unquote giving those stats to their players?
See, there is the rub right there. If it's still restricted to patrons only, it's been WotC's opinion that is still charging for them in other areas, in previous actions that they've taken. So I would say no, you would not want to. Like, the only way you could probably get away with this is if you were publishing these PDFs in the flat open that anybody could download. Not
so just had them on your
patrons.
website,
Yeah,
and just
have
refer
them.
people, hey, go to our website.
But
we have some
even
free
then,
stats.
you're agreeing to letting WotC have the concept of that.
Oh yeah,
thing.
your IP would be doomed under the current.
Yeah, it's like the Pharmamancer or whatever you were publishing, they would have the rights to include in their next monster manual if they wanted to.
Yeah, and then
without giving you a dime.
Claim the Minotaur dairy cows all for themselves.
And it's not just the stats. Like, say you did a really cool adventure or storyline or your world and you published it under this thing, then suddenly they could republish your entire campaign setting.
Yeah. That really kind of upsets me for things like, obviously I have my own personal opinions and my own personal company, and that's a whole different thing. But like, I look at somebody like Arcane Minis with Skies of Sordain, and they just came back. They just took a hiatus. They did everything. Their whole model now is an adventure. You get the adventure, you get the minis, you get the bad guys, you get like, and here it is. That's going to totally, it's going to screw that whole thing up if they do this.
And right now, everybody is objecting. The document has not been published yet officially. There's still time for them to pull back from the cliff edge here. But at the same time, a lot of the trust has been gone. I don't know that I would, no matter what they say, I don't know that I would want to continue publishing OGL stuff, because, hey, under the worry that they might do it again next year when the heat dies down. Ooh, who knows? Especially since they put language in it that says they can just update it at whim with no notice.
Yeah.
And that's the worst part. Like, if they that's such bad language. They could literally, like, I'm not sure that anybody would want to do this or that the courts wouldn't stop them, but as written, they could just say, well, tomorrow it's 100%. Like, they see that your Kickstarter has hit funding and finishes in 3 days, and it's at $4 million because you made the best bestiary minis ever.
Right.
And they can go, well, now our take's 90%.
And it's even on a whole nother level worse, because now it's become part of a value expectation for a lot of people. So now you have these people that, if you're doing your due diligence as a creator and protecting yourself, you can't do it. But now you have a customer base that expects it, and you're just not going to win in any direction.
This
that's
hurts
rough.
Everybody.
Yeah. I mean, they honestly, the only thing I would see at this point is they would need to release a document saying, never mind. And it would have to basically be a new, or just say, hey, we're going to extend 1.0 indefinitely or whatever.
But that doesn't mean that WotC moves to 6th edition. Like, what good are 5th edition stats anymore?
Sure. Although if the community doesn't move, that's the thing. It's always been, it's with the Pathfinder even, but like, if the community doesn't move, they could resist this.
Right. But not if they kill the first one.
Yeah.
So what would need to happen is, what will probably happen is that this is going to go to, if they push it out there, then this goes to court. Lawyers are involved. There are too many companies that would go under without a court decision on this. And like, if then it goes to court, and then 2 years from now we find the ruling comes down, and I'm being optimistic that a case like this would be done in 2 years. Like, we are talking years of litigation is probably going to be involved in this, and that then finally says, nope, WotC, you weren't allowed to revoke the OGL. It stands in perpetuity. Well, and then at least we would have some legal standing that it's safe to continue the OGL 1.0A's document.
Right. But like a company like mine, for instance, I can't take 2 years of no sales.
Yeah. And I am being really generous in saying that this would be done in 2 years. This could drag out for 5 years easy. Like by the time this is done, they might be putting 7th edition out.
Yeah, I mean there is a lot of good news, at least for our Patreon people. If they get away from this, their audience is going to stay there. These games are still going to exist. People are still going to play them, and they're still going to want your minis. So like, if you protect yourself, like I don't want our listeners to freak out about our Patreons going away. They're just going to have to pivot and adapt.
Yeah. If what you want's minis, you're going to get minis. Like they can't stop you from making minis. Don't worry about that.
Right. I would be extra cautious about using specific names, though. You can look at that list.
Yeah. Just don't make anything and call it a behold. Like this is not an expansive list, but of ones we see a lot. Don't call anything a beholder. Don't call anything an owlbear.
I believe you have to call this a tentacle tiger.
Yeah. Don't call anything a displacer beast. Like there is a list of things they own the trademarks to. You need to go, or the copyrights to. You need to go check those out and make sure that you don't use that language, because WotC's not as bad as GW, or has not been as bad as GW litigiously, but it's been close.
It's been close.
And in the past, they've been worse. Like in the 90s, they were worse than GW lawyers by far. Like they didn't even think you could make character creators.
Yeah.
But, well, that's some fun doom and gloom.
But there's a good side? Question mark.
Well,
I say this is someone who's not super excited about the thing, but we do have people like Cobalt Press, like DM Dave on Patreon, like a couple other folks. Math Hatter Laboratories is another person who's doing it. Darren Drader is doing it. There's going to be a proliferation of new fantasy core rule sets coming out.
Yeah, because even if this goes down the best possible way, a lot of trust has been lost.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not such the solid rock to hook your wagon up to anymore.
Yeah, well, James pointed out trust is 100% gone unless they put explicit language preventing what they're trying to do. Yeah, absolutely. At this point, it's a slippery slope that I don't think a lot of people are going to be willing to bet on anymore. And, especially if Cobalt Press, if DM Dave, these people, DM Dave, and this is just from his Patreon, so I'm just kind of pointing this out, has an open system document, and they're going to set up a trust, and it's going to be maintained independently. That's maybe a way to go, and it'll be who knows how these systems are going to be received, right? I think of Fantasy Age, which I think is a great system, but it still just hasn't ever gained that popularity.
Because there hasn't been a need to. In a world where the OGL exists and we have this gigantic common core that we're all allowed to freely play around in, and with a game as popular as 3rd edition, Pathfinder, and 5th edition, like in their various heydays, why? Like there's besides wanting to or do different things, but like, hey, I just want to make a cool fantasy adventure that I can reach the maximum amount of people possible. You wouldn't make your own system. No. And also it's going to take a massive amount of work and getting a whole bunch of cats wrangled to get anybody to agree to a single standard. Yeah. So even if everybody agrees, hey, we need to go get to a new standard and make our own OGL or make our own open system that we will make dang sure WotC can't take away from us again. And that's what the whole industry and fan base goes for. It's going to take a long time for that to happen. I am speaking from having been through this and having experience in
multiple times now.
Thing happening, okay?
Multiple times.
Yeah. I have been through this before, and it was a fun ride, and it was exciting. And
fun in a destroyed my gaming group and trauma-inducing sort of fun, yes.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Yeah, so it will take a lot, and it will take a lot of money, and it will take a lot of time, and it will take a lot of egos getting stroked, and some having to be put away, and not everybody's going to be happy.
Nope.
And but that in the meantime, small creators are going to go out of business.
They are.
The market's going to shrink. Artists are going to have a harder time finding work, because you know what's a great way to get paid before this came out? doing RPG art for small publishers was a great way to get paid as
Absolutely.
an intro artist.
Going through my assets to kind of see what else I still have in the pipeline, I was just stunned, how many hundreds of pieces I've bought.
Yeah.
And I am small potatoes. Most people,
'Cause
even who listen to our podcast, know nothing about my company.
if you're an art student who loves drawing dragons, there are companies that will pay you money to draw their dragon.
Absolutely.
And then pay you decent money to draw that dragon.
Yep.
And by the way, can you please draw 48 more of them for our best here?
Right. Right. I need them in these 16 colors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's going to be a whole lot less people asking people to draw. Like this is a bad 1-2 punch for illustrators, RPG illustrators. Like with Midjourney coming around and AI threatening that pot, and then WotC's basically cutting the companies out of existence. Oh man, everything's about to get real lean.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year.
Yeah. So what can you do about it? First, there's several petitions and change.orgs and the Open D&D movement. Call WotC their number and literally tell them hello. We don't like this and we're going to take our money elsewhere. That'd be great. If you're a publisher, get your OGL stuff out of your Patreon right now. You really, just because of exposure, legal risk, you're going to want that stuff out. I don't like saying that. I don't like hurting the industry. I don't like that we're having to do a tactical retreat right now. But unless you've got a cadre of lawyers that you are willing to engage against one of the largest companies on the planet, don't. Again, I'm not a lawyer. This isn't legal advice, but boy, I'm just a guy who shouts at a microphone on the internet. I've been doing this though for a very long time.
Alex, about the question about Paizo, they would have to do a 3rd edition to get away from the OGL at this point, I think, which I don't think they're quite ready to do yet.
Especially after, 2nd edition has just now found its fan base and is starting to thrive. And another pivot right now would really hurt that community.
More happy stuff?
Herberto was supposed to be today's guest, and we would have talked about anything else besides this.
Right, we would have taken a week.
Apologies, power got out. Sorry about that, Herberto. We really missed you. We will reschedule. Herberto does really awesome chibi miniatures. He's got a game coming out, or game out that you can play. It's great. I love their stuff. Definitely go check out their stuff. And we will have Herberto on the show to chat about it
for sure. Happy chibis, at least, just to
cleanse cute things on tanks. Evidently, y'all love it because that was one of our better performing episodes recently.
Yeah, hey, I like cute.
So I'm more than happy to put the chibi on the tank again on the thumbnail.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So shout outs. What are you shouting out to?
I got a couple. We've got Creatures of the Whispering Forest. I mentioned this last week, but I just wanted to say you can get some free minis by signing up. It's coming out on Kickstarter. It's Monolith Arts. They did Lost Souls 1 and 2, which were kind of a Dark Souls inspired set of ghosts, but these are going to be more your Sylvaneth.
They look terrifying. They've got a Wendigo as their key creature right off the bat.
Yeah, and then they have a bunch of cool. There's some winged kind of forest fairies. I would actually recommend checking them out on Instagram to see all the previews. They've got a lot more on their Instagram of all the stuff in it, so I would check that out. I believe pre-launch it's coming up here in a week or two. Similarly, if I should give Param a second, Fantastic Plants / Print Your Monsters is doing fantastic portals. I believe that is a Frontier on My Mini Factory. If you sign up for the Frontier, you get a free forest portal, magic portal forest thing. And the coolest thing about these that I think is really neat is the portal magic effects in the center are removable. So you can have the portal off, pop in the spell effect, and you can print the spell effect in a transparent resin and do some cool stuff with that. But these are always high value. I want to say it's like $24 usually for like 20 models and the 20 inserts or magic effects. There'll be stretch goals, obviously, on top of that, and the campaigns usually do really well. And you can get their previous campaigns, which are fantastic rucks and plants, which have just lots of cool stuff. Like I've been putting off these. If you're listening to us, it's a giant vine with kind of a tree thing growing out of it. But if you want some like cool fantasy plants and rocks, there's also some really cool sci-fi stuff, or like planescapey, planar stuff like hellscape. So yeah, those things are coming up pretty quick here, and they both have sign-up gifts, so I would check them out instead of me talking about them the day they close it down like I usually do. So
This all sounds great. I wasn't able to find stuff to pull it up. I'm afraid.
I'm sorry. I will try to get it to you so you can put in the show notes. How's that?
One of my shout outs I want to give to is to Reptilian Overlords, a crew we've talked about before a couple of times. They don't do a traditional Patreon subscription. They do have a subscription on their website that's like credit based, so that you can subscribe for a number of credits, but then you can use those credits to buy back catalog items instead of the current month if you choose to. So I
have messaged you the pre-market launch page for that if you want to find it.
I will find it in a moment.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Oh, nice.
They are doing a space soldier kit for infantry, and it's like designed to like customize what your space army looks like. So you can go like the traditional, maybe kind of reminiscent of Cadia look, or like weird bull helmet look, or just crazy. Like this is just a couple of examples they have. It's like the same soldier in the same pose with completely different uniforms. And the kit is basically let you customize everything in dozens of different poses, all sorts of different head options and armor options for it. It's going to be crazy, all the things you can customize with this, so that your army can look like what your army looks like, and which is great for customizing your army. Or if you're doing a role-playing campaign, you've got this kit so that the guards they run into from one nation don't look exactly like the guards they look at from another nation.
Heriberto says has a love-hate relationship with multi-part minis. I'm right there with you, but when there's this many options, I still think it's worth it just to get that pile of different stuff in there. But
I mean, they've got like 50 different head options here.
And I was kind of talking over you, I think. What was this Patreon, or what was the company?
This is Reptilian Overlords. They're the crew that teamed up with Wargames Atlantic to get some of their kits made as hard plastics, which is really cool. And this is just like the hypest set ever, because it's like you want I like it because you're going to get to pick exactly what your freaking force looks like, instead of just like our theme looks like this and your theme looks like that. It's just like, no, I'm going to have cool trench coats with gold filigree, and they're going to wear crested helmets and use like really twirly looking laser guns.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Heriberto, I have to merge them now as STLs before I print them, because the supports on all those little pieces, I just lose heads. I'll find it floating in my alcohol 3 weeks later.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to just bring all these parts in the blender and then just like get like 27 poses and just print those out. But hey, like it's a great, wonderful kit to do that with.
Yeah. Speaking of Wargames Atlantic, geez, the Deluge people.
Oh my God, that's still getting crazy, isn't it?
It's just every month. It's so much. Like, I don't even think they could do a video.
If we were just covering their releases, it would be an episode a month dedicated to them.
Right. Just this is all the things that came out on Wargame Atlantic.
Yeah, it's like Egyptians this time. Like when we say they released Egyptians, it's not like 5 or 6 Egyptian sets. It's like a complete build-in Egyptians with 14 bodies, 4 oxens, billion heads. Oh, it's nuts. And that's just going to be one of the 8 things they put out this month.
Right.
Yeah. That's one of the best deals on Patreon right now.
I have not seen much from Baron Pipe, Heriberto. Small, cute, good stuff. We'll have to check it out. Maybe we'll talk about it next
definitely. I need to go check that out. I may have seen those before. I know somebody else is doing chibis that look amazing. I think it was capsule minis though that I'm thinking of. Oh well. I am fond of cute things. Send me all the cute things, and I will definitely promote it on
I
the
am
show.
too, as victims.
Oh no. All right. We are out of time, everybody. If you want to support the show, you can find more of our stuff over at printyourgames.com. The thing you can do to help the most, though, is to give us a review on your favorite platform, whether it be Spotify, iTunes, or I don't know where the other 8,000 places this show appears on. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like and drop us a comment. That would help out a bunch, as well as subscribe if you want to keep seeing us. And other than that, I am Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Parent.
I'm Kristen Sowers, also known as Seventh Mastery. Don't forget to use your screen protector.
We'll see you all next week.
Bye-bye.